let's understand what is a cumulative interest or compound interest. Okay, so as the name itself suggests, compound interest means interest earned on interest. Okay, so interest on interest is known as the compound interest. Okay, for example, say if you have invested rupees 10,000, okay, at the interest rate of 10% per annum for 3 years, okay, then what will be the interest on the total interest on rupees 10,000? Okay, so first let's see what will be the simple interest. Okay, so simple interest will be 10,000 into 10%, then divided by 100 into number of years, that is 3. Okay, so simple interest on will be 3,000, and the amount that you will be receiving is 10,000 plus 3,000, that is 13,000. Okay, now let's understand how do we calculate compound interest. Okay, first we will understand the basic concept and then we will see the formula. Okay, so let's put it as year 1 interest total. Okay, so in year 1 amount invested is 10,000. Okay, so on 10,000 the interest received will be 10,000 into 10 by 100. Okay, for the first year. Okay, so what is the amount of interest? Amount of interest is 1,000. So at the end of year 1, okay, total at the end of year 1 is 10,000 plus 1,000, that is 11,000. Okay, so now in year 2 the interest, what is the amount of interest earned? The amount of interest earned will be on rupees 11,000. Okay, so cumulative interest means you are earning an interest not only on the principal amount but also on the interest amount of 1,000. Okay, so that's why at the in the year 2 the amount on which the interest will be earned is, that will be 11,000, that is 10,000 principal amount and 1,000 interest for the year 1. So upon 10 by 100, so how much does that come to? 1,100. So total at the end of the year 2, okay, total at the end of the year 2 will be how much? 11,000 was your total at the end of year 1 plus 1,100. So how much does that come to? 100 to 1, so 12,100. Now in year 3 the interest will be 12,100 into 10 by 100. So you are earning an interest on 10,000 principal amount plus 1,000 interest of year 1 plus 1,100 interest of year 2. So amount is 1,210. So total amount that you will be receiving at the end of the year 3 will be 1,200 plus 1,210. So that comes to how much? 13,310 is the amount that will be received at the end of 3rd year if you get a cumulative or compounded interest at 10% per annum. Okay, now if you see the difference, as per simple interest you were supposed to get 13,000 at the end of the 3rd year. correct, at the end of the third year. But as per compound or cumulative interest, for the same principal amount you are getting the amount of 13,310. That is because you are getting interest on interest, okay, for the succeeding year, that is year 2 and year 3. This is the main difference between the simple interest and the compound interest or cumulative interest. Now we'll see the formula for calculating compound or cumulative interest. Now, since we are earning interest on interest, the amount that will be received at the end of year will include your principal amount plus the cumulative interest. So the formula for your cumulative interest is A, that is amount is principal into 1 plus r by 100 the whole raised to n. Okay, so where p is equal to principal, then r is rate of interest, and this number of years. Okay, so principal, that is 10,000 into 1 plus 10 by 100 the whole raised to, what is n, number of years is 3, so 3. Now let's see what is the amount that we get as per formula. So 10,000 into 1 plus 0.1 the whole raised to 3. Okay, now that is 10,000 into 1.1 the whole raised to 3. So that comes to 10,000 into 1 how much, 1.331, 0.331, so that is 13,310. Okay, now if you see, as per our earlier calculation also, we got the same amount here. At the end of the year 3 we are getting an amount of 13,310, and the total interest amount, how do we calculate the total interest amount? Is interest amount is amount received minus principal, that is 13,310 minus 10,000, so 3,310 is the total interest that is received. Okay, now if you see this formula, okay, A is equal to P into 1 plus R the divided by 100 the whole raised to n. So why do we put this raised to n? Okay, in simple interest formula what we had is A is equal to P into 1 plus Rn the is to 100. This is what we had in our simple interest formula, correct? Now why do we have this in the cumulative interest formula? This is because this raised to n means when you raise all this to the power of n, that means the number of years the amount is invested, that many times you have to compound the interest. Okay, that is amount of 10,000 which is initially deposited. So in first year what you're doing is you're providing an interest on 10,000. In next year the interest is calculated on 10,000 plus the interest of first year. Okay, that is 1,000. In third year the interest is calculated on 10,000 plus the interest of first and second year. Okay, that is the reason you are raising this to power of n, that is number of years that is accumulated. Okay, since you are compounding the interest. In case of this simple interest you are not compounding. Okay, you are giving the same interest on the principal amount irrespective of interest earned at the end of every year. You are not giving interest on interest. So That is why there is a difference in both the formulas. Okay. Now we will see one example wherein the interest is not compounded annually. Okay, in all this what was happening is interest is compounded annually. That compounded annually means what? In this example, the interest on annual interest was earned, right? For example, compounded annually means at the end of every year, okay, the interest was added to your principal amount, and this is the amount on which the interest will be received in the next year, or this is the amount in which the interest will be received in the third year. That is, the interest is compounded annually. Now we'll see one example wherein the interest is not compounded annually, but it is compounded either monthly or quarterly. Okay, so this is one more example. Mr. C has invested rupees 1 lakh in the bank. Interest is received at 12% per annum, compounded quarterly. Quarterly is once in 3 months. Okay, calculate the amount receivable at the end of 2 years. So 1 lakh has been kept for 2 years at 12% per annum interest, which is compounded quarterly. Now first we will calculate what will be the amount receivable at the end of the 2 years without using the formula. Okay, so year 1 amount is 1 lakh. Okay, now interest will be how much? We'll calculate the proportionate interest. 1 lakh into 12% is 12 by 100. Now 12 by 100 is for the entire year, right? So for 3 months it will be 3 by 12 because we are compounding it quarterly, right? So after every quarter, your interest plus principal, you will receive the interest on interest plus principal, correct? So 1 lakh into 12 by 100 into 3 by 12, so that comes to how much? 3000. So 30,000. Now this is at the end of your quarter 1 in year 1, right? So next quarter 2, your balance is 103,000. Now interest will be received on 103,000 into again 12 by 100 into 3 by 12. Okay, and the amount will be 3090. Then the total amount is 1,03,000 plus 3090. That comes to 106090. Correct? Then quarter 3, 106090 is the balance. Now you will receive the 106090 into 12 by 100 into 3 by 12. That comes to 3182. Okay, so amount is 109272.70. Okay, so this is the total amount at the end of quarter 3. Then quarter 4, the amount is 109272.70. So interest received will be 109272.70 into 12 by 100 into 3 by 12. That comes to 3278.18. So total amount at the end of quarter 4 of year 1 is 12550.88. Then you will have year 2, correct? Year 2, quarter 1. This is the opening balance 112,550.88. Then in similar way you need to calculate the interest for quarter 1. Now that amount comes to 3376.53. Okay, so the total amount at the end of quarter 1 of year 2 is 115,927.41. Then quarter 2, 115,927.41. On that, the interest at the rate of 12% for 3 months, that comes to 3477.82. So your total amount here comes to 119,405.23. Then quarter 3, the amount is 119,405.23. Total interest comes to 3582.16, and total amount is 122,987.39. At the end of quarter 4 of year 2, 122,987.39. On that interest, 3689.62, and the amount is 126,677.01. So this is how you calculate the cumulative interest, or interest which is compounded quarterly at 12% per annum on rupees 1 lakh. So at the end of year 2, you will be getting 1,26,677.01. Okay, now we'll see, apply the formula here and see what is the answer, okay, for the same question. So now let's apply the formula here. Okay, first let us understand how much is P. 1 lakh rupees. Okay, then interest rate is 12%, correct? Then what is N, number of years? Is 2. Okay, now since this interest is compounded quarterly and not annually, there is one more thing which we need to calculate, that is number of times the interest is compounded. Okay, that will take it as R, small r, number of times the interest is compounded in a year. Okay, so that will be small r. Okay, so since it is compounded quarterly, that is once in 3 months, number of times that interest is compounded per annum is how much? 4 times, correct? Since the interest rate is per annum, we need to calculate this. This is number of times interest is compounded annually. Okay, now let's see what is the formula. Our normal formula, when the interest is compounded annually, what is that? P into 1 plus R upon 100, okay, the whole raised to N. Okay, so since interest rate we are taking it as R, let's take this as T, small t, that is number of times the interest is compounded annually, not R. We'll take it as T. Okay, now when the interest is compounded more than once annually, the formula will be 1 plus, okay, R upon 100, correct? So R upon 100, this whole thing you need to divide it by T, the whole thing into N into T. Okay, so let's put all the values in the formula. 1 lakh, okay, 1 plus, okay, R by 100, that is 12% divide 12%, so 12 by 100, so that comes to 0.12. Okay, this whole thing divided by number of times the interest is compounded, that is 4, correct? The whole into N is number of years, so that is 2 years, into 2 years into number of times the interest is compounded, that is 4 times, correct? So this comes to 1 lakh into 1 plus 0.03 the whole raised to 8, correct? That is 1 lakh into 1.03 the whole raised to 8, that is nothing but 126,677.01. Okay, now if you see, this is the same amount as we calculated it here. Okay, so it's better to understand the formula instead of just by hearting it. Okay, now in the same example we'll try to calculate the interest when the interest is compounded monthly. Okay, now this is the same example wherein the interest is compounded monthly. Okay, so amount at the end of the 2 years has been calculated. You can see the month, amount at the beginning of the month, then the interest. Okay, now interest is calculated. Now this interest is calculated how? 1000, that is 1 lakh into 12% interest. So 1 lakh into 12 by 100, that is the interest for the entire year. We need to calculate it monthly since the interest is compounded monthly. So into 1 by 12, so that comes to 1000. Then amount at the end of the month is 1 lakh 1000. Then again in the February the interest will be calculated on 1 lakh 1000, that comes to 1010, and so on. The calculations are made and the amount that will be received at the end of 2 years will be 126,973. Now we will see the formula. Okay, so let's first write down the values for P is 1 lakh. Okay, then rate of interest is 12%, then n, that is number of years, is 2, then t, that is number of times the interest is compounded annually. So in this case the interest is compounded monthly. Okay, so number of times interest compounded annually is 12. So now let's put the formula. P into 1 plus r upon 100 is to t into n into t. Now principal is how much? 1 lakh. Okay, 1 plus r by 100 is what? 12%, that is 0.12 whole divided by 12. Okay, into number of years 2 into 12. So that comes to how much? 1 lakh into 0.1 plus 0.01, so 1.01 the whole raised to 24. So if you calculate this, that comes to 1,26,973.46, which is same as this one. Okay, this is how you calculate the cumulative or compounded interest. Okay, thank you.